Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton. Today we are sitting down at the Mansion 1886 with my good friend Brent Rogers. How you doing today, Brent?
Scott, I'm doing great. It's great to see you today.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for having me out. So I wanted to come out here because you know me, we love bourbon, we love talking bourbon, and you guys are opening a super cool event space here in downtown New Albany, and you guys are going to have a fantastic bar, and then I think you said like once COVID gets past, I heard a rumor there might be like a speakeasy here.
Maybe so, Scott. Yeah, we've got some great things going on in downtown New Albany. There are some investors who purchased a property that we are now affectionately calling Mansion 1886. It's located on Mansion Row here, right next door to the Culbertson Mansion. There's a number of investors who've gone in and basically turned this place into what we feel like has been a tastefully redone. And so we're keeping some of the old world history that's been involved with this area, and certainly this building was built by the Culbertson family, one of the first families in New Albany, and we have put modern updates on it, and we will be using this space for weddings, receptions, rehearsal dinners, corporate events. We can hold up to just over 300 people, and we're looking forward to getting it out in front of the community.
Absolutely, and let me tell you, if you've ever been to if I remember correctly, it was called the Old Culbertson West, right?
That's correct.
If you've ever been to the Old Culbertson West and you walk in and see what they've done with this place, it's amazing. I mean, for one, they've done some great trim work, different things, the painting patterns they've put up. Looks like the AC's been updated, the heat's been updated. I remember it being pretty drafty and cold, back in the old days, back when I used to come in here in my younger days. A lot of weddings, since I'm getting older these days, all my friends did all that stuff. So, a fantastic job with the proprietors that did that. And do you want to talk a little bit about them, or is that okay? Or
yeah, there's a group of owners that are involved. Compass Project Management. A lot of people will know our friend Lincoln Ogden. He owns that company. He and his wife tastefully did all of the remodel, and the place is just beautiful. So we're super excited to have him kind of finish up the sort of the project, and now it's opened up to the public. We've got a gal named Kelly Sutherland, who is our event manager. She graduated from the University of Kentucky with a hospitality degree, and she's been kind of waiting out COVID and just being patient with us, but now she's ready to hit the ground running, and she's going to be able to help our clients out with booking the venue and just being involved and having their special event here.
Gotcha. So speaking of special events, we just had a special event last night. It was crazy. I mean, tons of people. We had a great time, and you all did a special bourbon release with what we would affectionately call as MGP, but you keep you throw me for a loop because you always say Midwest Grain Products, and it makes me laugh. So you want to tell us a little bit more about that and what the product is and what it looks like, and we can talk a little bit more about MGP and that.
Yeah, so some of the owners got together and decided, let's do something that, we feel like the community might be able to get behind. So they purchased a 7.5-year MGP, and basically we sold a few tickets and had some friends and some family come out to taste the bourbon. We had a custom Glencairn made, which again, I'm not a bourbon guy, but I understand is the proper way to drink bourbon. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Only a bourbon snob would use, the Glencairn. Otherwise, you just get a rocks glass or whatever else, man.
But just do a chug.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the chug.
Right,
you got to do it for the chugs.
Right. So we, great event last night. Had a lot of people here to support not only the venue, but obviously to support some bourbon and their love for that. So it was a fantastic event, and it was nice to have that under our belt. We've got, a lot to look forward to down here at Mansion 1886.
Absolutely. So the special bourbon you guys brought in was a Good Times MGP. If I remember correctly, the mash bill was a 75, 21, 24. So it's probably what I would consider their second or third most desirable product that they offer of those in there. So it's a very, very high on the rye spectrum, but it's also high corn. So most people that listen to the show, they're going to know exactly what we're talking about. But man, I tell you what, the notes that came off this, the aroma, were just a fantastic level. I mean, off the nose, I was getting immediately a lot of vanilla and caramel, and then I got a little bit of dried fruit. I couldn't tell if it was a raisin or what, but I got some nice dark dried fruit off of that thing. And then the taste, just kind of followed through the caramel, the vanilla, a little bit of candy note. I couldn't really put a put a note on that one. It's one of those weird things that, sometimes I get juicy fruit, sometimes I get other things, but when I get that candy note, it's always something that's super, super sweet that's beyond those typical, tasting notes that you get on one of those. So I thought it was a really great pour. I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to have to offer as far as that. Do you know if you're going to have extra bottles that are going to be sitting in the venue for people to be able to get those pours?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the venue does have its own liquor license, so we will be, stocking the traditional bar with, the traditional products. But in addition to those, we do have a few extra bottles that we're going to keep here. So for those bourbon folks that, want to come down and they see this product on our shelf, they can certainly order that, and hopefully, we'll have that to look forward to. And then as we build our inventory, and try to have a little bit more to offer than maybe just a Woodford or a Maker's, try to have some other things down here as well.
Gotcha. So we know this is going to be an event space, but what else is going to be tying in with the Mansion 1886? Are you guys going to offer like a bed and breakfast type event or space or things like that? What's that going to look like? And give us a little more detail on that.
Sure. So, obviously it's a 3-story home that was built by the Culbertsons in 1886. A lot of cool history. A piece of history that a lot of people don't know is Samuel Culbertson was a president of Churchill Downs, and the garland of roses was created by him. Roses were his mother's favorite flower, so he determined as president, when the horse wins the Derby, now they will be garnished with the garland of roses.
No way, I didn't know that.
He created that tradition for Churchill Downs. Another interesting fact: the house that we have the event in and that has been remodeled, Mansion 1886, is the first house in New Albany to have an indoor restroom.
Indoor restroom. So what? It was built in 1886.
That's correct. So before that, you were going out to an outhouse.
Right.
So his dad, who lived in the Culbertson Mansion, didn't even have an indoor restroom prior to this home.
I'd be dang. Huh. So they built it. Was the restroom? And maybe you may not know. Was the restroom built with the house?
It was.
Okay. So
it was.
So the first restroom ever built in New Albany was in 1886.
We have a very popular restroom, Scott.
That's right. I mean, shoot. I mean, it was probably the most popular in town at the time.
I
you get a little privacy,
For sure.
Before
Absolutely.
that, everybody was just in one big outhouse area.
That's right. That's right. So there is something else that we have planned. Once we kind of get our feet wet with the venue here and kind of get some events going, we do have an additional space that there is a rumor that we may have a private membership-only speakeasy. Two of the children from Samuel Culbertson, they were named Percy and Glover, and these were black sheep of the Culbertson family. They were into gambling. Maybe had some ladies around, and were definitely running some booze. And so when Mr. Culbertson passed away, every member of the family received $10,000, except which would equate to millions now, except these two grandkids, Percy and Glover. They received $100 each. Which was a big slap in the face. But nevertheless, this private speakeasy that's going to be membership only will be affectionately named Percy and Glover's.
Percy and Glover's. So that's an odd piece of history that you bring up there, because you always think, especially in Southern Indiana, I've lived here most of my life, and you always hear these cool stories. Like the one story that I always remember that just always strikes my fancy is I think it was Harry S. Truman used to get snuck out of the old Brown Hotel in downtown Louisville and taken to Blanchard Terrace, where at the time the mayor of Jeffersonville lived, and they would play poker games. And the Secret Service had no clue that he was, snuck out of the 3rd-story rafter, brought down, and everything else, and, taken over there to play poker all night long. And that's back when Jeff used to have all the gambling facilities and the ladies. And we were also, I guess, famous for marriages at that time.
Right. Yeah. There's so much history here in Southern Indiana. And, oftentimes, as someone who's lived and grown up here, I love finding out these little pieces of history. In fact, there's a church just down the street from here that was part of the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, the Clock Tower Church.
That's right. The Clock Tower Church. I always call it the Jerry Finn Church because he was so involved with the remodel. But, they would, have use to the Underground Railroad. So there's, right here in our own city, there's just so much history. And this building is certainly a big part of that.
And another thing that most people aren't even aware of is that at the time when these houses were built, New Albany was actually the richest city in the entire Midwest at that time.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy when you sit back and you look at it, these old river towns and the way that they were, and they said that honestly, New Albany would have been Louisville had it not been for the fact that Louisville beat us to getting the dam, dike built, whatever, in order to make sure that the river was more passable on that side of the river. So
well, and it's interesting. Now it's obviously all technology, but back then it was waterways, and there were no airplanes. There weren't even cars, so it was a matter of how you could get whatever the material. New Albany was famous for textiles, of course. So
right.
We had some great textile producers here in this town.
Right, yeah, M. Fine. I mean, tons of them.
That's right.
Out there, and Culberson was that, and then who was the other? Scribner was like glass, right? Was like stained glass, different things like that.
Yeah, I think Scribner. There was Stein Glass, of course, the Stein family.
Yeah.
Another interesting name who was the second owner of this house. There's only been 5 owners of the house since 1886. The Culbertsons obviously the first, but Dr. Hazelwood bought it from the Culbertson family.
The Hazelwood that the school's named after.
That's exactly right.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that either.
Sure.
So this building's got tons of history, tons of heritage, and like I said, they did a wonderful job on rehashing it and fixing it up and just redecorating and designing it. And I noticed the new floors outside, and they've all been polished and gotten ready to go. So super, super cool. So no idea as far as a bread and breakfast or anything like that, or it's because I thought whenever I talked to one of the owners at one point that they said that they thought that might be something they might do, or maybe have like a space up there where maybe it was just like a honeymoon suite, like after you got married, maybe you went up there, that type of thing. Maybe that's what I was thinking.
There's lots of opportunity here.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll encourage, the folks in the community to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Check out our social media, Mansion 1886, and you can kind of see some of the updates. There has been talk of a bed and breakfast depending on the local policies and so on and so forth. So we've got a lot of options with the building, and we certainly want to make it, conducive for clients to rent it, and we want them to think of us when they're thinking about an event.
Gotcha. So let's dive in just a little bit deeper to the bar menu. What's that going to look like? Like for me, I'm a big smoked old-fashioned fan. What are the type of drinks or offerings you're going to have in the bar for those cash bar facilities or for weddings and things like that?
Sure. So we have a list. We've compiled a list of caterers. So we have about 7 or 8 caterers on a preferred catering list. Clients can bring in other caterers, and there is the customary fee for them to bring in and use a caterer. We have a prep kitchen here and so on and so forth. So the menu and the food is really going to be up to the client and what their particular needs are. As far as the bar goes, again, we're going to start out with a lot of the basic things, try to have a few upgraded bourbons. And then as we produce events and host events here, we'll be able to upgrade that. But a lot of it's just going to be up to whatever the client prefers. One of the trends right now in the event industry is doing sort of a customized drink for your event. So maybe you're a bride and groom that love bourbon together, right? So in that case, we can create with the bar staff here, some type of an old fashioned seems to be kind of the popular one right now. Or if you're a vodka person, we can come up with a nice vodka drink for you. We've reached out to the folks at Borden U at their bistro, and they've been kind of a partner of us down here, helping us create a couple of special events for some folks, and giving us some tips and so forth. So the community's really gotten behind this, and the big thing would be whatever the client wants. That's our goal here, and Kelly's going to do a great job of making sure that the customer is happy and pleased and has a successful event.
Yeah, I was sad Kelly was a little mic shy, I heard.
Yeah, she's over here smiling right now. She said, I can help plan and manage, but I think she thought we were going to make her sing.
That's only when you're last to the meeting, right? They had to sing something. I always sang Garth Brooks. That was always my big thing.
Is that your go-to? Karaoke?
Listen, man, you can't. It's the range, man. I don't have much up here, so I have to stick someplace in the middle. So
no,
I
understand. I've always felt that my go-to karaoke song would be Copacabana.
Yeah.
I always felt like that probably should be my go-to song.
Well, it's not a bad one.
Right, right.
Everybody knows it. Get along with it. Once you get going, you can get them singing with you. That's
Absolutely.
probably a great idea. I probably should steal that one.
Right. Anytime, Scott.
I think Friends in Low Places was always mine, like I said.
We'll go karaokeing together soon after a couple of bourbon chugs.
Absolutely.
I will tell you, Scott, you've educated me, from the event and a couple of meetings that we've had about bourbon. And, I should tell your users I am not a bourbon guy, right? Unfortunately, my last real experience with bourbon came in Panama City Beach on spring break a number of years ago.
1993 or 92.
You're close, Scott. Yes,
I'm in the ballpark
in that area. And of course, like any true spring breaker, we had our 7 people in a 2-bedroom Howard Johnson's on the beach, and we went to the liquor store. That was our first purchase, and bought all the bourbon and rum and whiskey and vodka, and we set it up on the dresser, and it's probably spent more in alcohol than we did on the entire trip. And as any 19 to 22-year-old young man on spring break will do, he of course starts drinking. And at that point, I wasn't quite sure that you weren't supposed to mix all of these things together or drink a half gallon of said bourbon or whiskey in one day. And so as the story goes, I had drank quite a bit of bourbon and whiskey, came back from the beach. We had ordered a pizza, and I went out onto the balcony, and I saw the pizza man, bringing our pizza. And unfortunately, I lost my lunch on the pizza man bringing us our dinner. So it was at that point when I woke up the next morning that I think, I probably should stick to something a little bit more comfortable to my palate.
Now, because you and I are in that same age group, and I know you're going to remember this, the one time I've gotten stupid drunk and done that was oddly enough at Bailey's.
Bailey's in Clarksville, Indiana, of course.
Playing pool one night. I'd ate the nachos. I had to play catch up because I had just gotten off at the mall, and the guys were like, "Hey, we're already like 6 deep," and I'm lugging. It was, I think it was like 85-cent Coors Light night, and I got caught up, and we were just sitting there, and like 3 hours later, we're still sitting there eating and drinking, and sure enough, I went into the bathroom, and this dude comes in to talk to me, and no sooner than I turn over to look at him, he goes, "Dude, I love your shoes," because I just got these brand new Air Maxes, and he puked all over my shoes. And I was like, oh my God. And like anybody that knows me, I don't deal with puke. Like my wife, I was like, the one job you have, I'll clean diapers, I'll clean the walls, I'll do anything. I do not do puke,
Got it.
And I walked outside. I went to go talk to my buddy. I was like, I got to leave. And sure enough, all over the vestibule, like the entire inside, the 4 doors. You couldn't even come into Bailey's without.
Oh, no.
So I got kicked out of there for like 4 months. Like they would not let me come back in because of that incident.
That is a solid story, Scott. I love any good Bailey story. That's solid. But the fact that you, such an upstanding member of the community, a nice gentleman, have that on your resume that you were kicked out of Bailey's. That's solid.
I was kicked out for a solid 4 months. They would not let me come back in because of that. Because they said you can either clean it up or leave, and I said, peace. Because at that point I was not cleaning up anything. It was a mess.
What a mess.
One of the girls I went to high school with, she's like, "Scott, I cannot believe you did that to me," because she had to clean it up. And I was like, "I'm really sorry, Kristen. I don't know what to tell you."
Well, I remember Bailey's. They had, the video games and the pool tables, but they had that shuffleboard with the salt.
Yep, that's my game.
Man, me too. I loved that game. I could go in there and just play for hours.
Yep, shuffleboard, and then the cigar lounge in the back. I wasn't even much of a cigar smoker, but it was one of those things where I would go back there and hang out with a couple of buddies, and I would, just puff like once or twice and just sit it down and then relight it, puff twice, and then sit it down.
So if anyone's listening that wants to start up, a Bailey's, I think you've got your first 2 customers right
Absolutely.
here. Scott and I are there.
Absolutely. Get that little, like the speakeasy, right?
Right.
Shuffleboard in the
there may
back,
be
cigars.
There is some conversation. It'll be folks that you'll be able to pay a membership. It'll of course be exclusive and private. Come down here. The bartender will know what your drink is, and there might even be a rumor that there's a private poker room in the back. Who knows, Scott? We've got lots of the options. The owners have some cool ideas cooked up.
I love the ideas. Hopefully that means I can get a discount on my membership sponsorship since I'm helping out with everything else. So.
Well, Scott, you've been great with what's going on with us here, and especially with the bourbon event. You've been super helpful, and I'm sure all of your listeners enjoy that, and hopefully they appreciate your knowledge of not only bourbon but your willingness to share, and the fact that you were showing us the I'm going to try to use this vernacular correctly, the taters.
Oh, the tater stickers.
Yeah, the tater stickers that you've shared with me, and kind of seeing some of those, and it's just been fun to get to hang out with you a little bit.
So yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be my next goal, is to help. Hopefully, Lincoln won't be such a loner the next time, and we can get out there and we can pick a few bottles and make some special stuff here, and that way you guys have the opportunity to have some things, and we can definitely help out with that with that aspect of it. So
that'd be great.
So, hey, before we sign off, I want to give you the opportunity. Tell us, how can they find you guys? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, address, all that good stuff, phone numbers, and who do they need to contact, and go from there?
Absolutely. Well, Kelly is the girl down here that's handling the event management and the venue rental. You can reach out to her through email at mansion1886@gmail.com. And then you can also call her at 812-850-1184. And then we are on Instagram and Facebook as Mansion1886. So, hop on there, like our page.
I hope you did not just give her cell phone number out.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly.
We got a lot of drunk single dudes out here in the bourbon industry.
That's right. Kelly is not an eligible bachelorette. No, that is the business line. But Kelly will be happy to take their call, plan the event. Check us out on social media. We've got some great stuff coming up, and we're looking forward to a great year. We get past this COVID. It's been rocky for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
My company, Sounds Unlimited Productions, who produces an events all over the region and locally, it's been a struggle for our team. And then so when the folks at Mansion 1886 asked me to kind of come and help them consult with us a little bit, I was happy to see a new up and coming event venue on the map. And, we're just really excited to see what happens in the future.
I assume that means that they're going to have the best DJ service around, right?
We hope so, Scott. Again, that will be open for each client to decide, but we certainly have a few events lined up here, and are super excited to just see events. I think the entire country is just ready for, whether it's an event, a concert, a festival, with the vaccine coming out, hopefully folks are, kind of becoming a little bit more comfortable being out in public. And, we just encourage people, whatever you do, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good time doing it.
Absolutely. COVID fatigue, I guess, is definitely a true statement if I've never seen one. So, well, hey, we greatly appreciate you having us out. If you want to reach Bourbon Barrel Talk, you can find us at bourbonbarreltalk@gmail.com is the best way to contact us, www.bourbonbarreltalk.com. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter, all the good social medias, Facebook, things to that nature. Also, if you don't mind, hit the subscribe button. That's the easiest way for you to get the downloads as soon as they hit the market. If you hit the subscribe button, it gets automatically uploaded onto your system. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We just picked up Pandora and Amazon as well. We finally hit the limitations to where you have to have so many downloads before you can get on the big boy sites. So
you've turned into a big boy now.
I guess technically we now have over 10,000 downloads.
Wow.
So we stay pretty steady. Now we're hitting about 1,500, 1,800 a month now. So we're definitely clicking and popping a little bit, and we're picking up more every month. So
that's exciting, Scott. Thanks for all you do. Not only for the bourbon community, but the community here in Southern Indiana. You're a great asset to our area.
Great, man. Thanks so much. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Scott. Thank you.
Bye bye.